In today's video, I'm going over 5 ways to become mentally stronger. I'm Jeffrey, I'm a licensed therapist, and I've spent the last several years helping people become more emotionally resilient so they're not at the mercy of stress, criticism, discomfort, or failure. Fortunately, mental strength isn't something you either have or don't. Before sharing how to build mental strength, let's define what being mentally strong actually means. It doesn't mean pretending you're fine when you're not. It doesn't mean keeping a straight face or suppressing your emotions. And it definitely doesn't mean being happy all the time. Being mentally strong means you allow yourself to feel, but you don't let those feelings run the show. You make choices based on your values, not your urges, not your panic, not your exhaustion. You still show up when it's uncomfortable. You still do what matters, even when every part of you wants to run. That being said, let's dive into the 5 ways to become mentally stronger. The first way to become mentally stronger is to praise your effort, not the outcome. That's tough because most of us were raised to focus on results. You got an A? Great job. Scored the goal? You're the hero. Got the promotion? Amazing. But no one really asks how you studied, what you learned, or which skills helped you get there. So we grow up tying our worth to outcomes. When things go well, we feel good, but when we fall short, we feel like we're not good enough. That's where Dr. Dweck's famous study comes in. In the study, kids were divided into 3 groups and asked to complete a set of relatively easy puzzles. After finishing, one group was praised for their effort. You worked really hard on that. Another group received no praise at all. And the last group was praised for their talent. You must be really smart at this. Then, all the kids were given a second set of puzzles, much harder this time. The effort praise group showed the most resilience. They kept going, they tried different strategies, and they stayed engaged. The no praise group also kept working, but not with the same persistence. They finished second when it came to resiliency. And the talent praise group struggled the most. They got frustrated, they gave up faster, they didn't want to keep trying. Then came a third round of puzzles, back to the original level of difficulty as the first. And here is the part that really matters. The effort group improved and performed the best. The no praise group did about the same as they did in the first set of puzzles. And the talent praise group, the ones that were told, "You are so smart," actually did the worst out of all 3. But why? Because when you praise someone for being smart, they start tying their identity to being right. When a task gets hard, it threatens that identity, and instead of trying harder, they pull away to protect their self-image. What does this teach us? It teaches us that mentally strong people focus on the process. They focus on praising their effort, not just the outcome. That mindset will lead to better outcomes in the long run. So next time you complete a challenge, ask yourself, how was my effort? Did I grow? Am I proud of how I handled it? If the answer is yes, celebrate that. Say it out loud or write it down, because praising the process builds mental strength. The second way to become mentally stronger is to learn how to take feedback. Let's just say it up front, taking feedback is hard. Even the most self-aware people still get that little punch in the gut feeling when someone offers feedback. That feeling of embarrassment, defensiveness is normal. But mentally strong people know how to recognize that feeling and not let it take over. Because if you don't learn how to take feedback, you're putting a limit on your own personal growth. You might not mean to, but that's what happens. Your ego becomes a wall, and behind that wall are the exact lessons you need in order to grow. Lessons about your blind spots, your habits, your communication, your patterns. Let me walk you through a really common example. Say you're working on a team project. You've been contributing well, you've been showing up, putting in time, adding your perspective. Then someone says to you, "Hey, I just wanted to bring this to your attention." Sometimes when you're giving feedback to others, it comes across as harsh. I know that's probably not your intention, but I've noticed a few people feeling a little shut down. Now, pause. How do you respond? Do you immediately jump in with, "That's not true, I was just being clear, they're probably just too sensitive"? Or do you get curious? Mentally strong people pause when they get feedback, even when it hurts, and they get curious. They ask, is there some truth to this? Could this actually help me get better? Now, they don't accept all feedback blindly, but they don't reject it reflexively either, because ego wants to feel safe, but growth and mental strength requires vulnerability. Now, not all feedback is good. Some people give feedback that's passive-aggressive, vague, poorly timed, or based on their own insecurities. You don't have to absorb every comment like a sponge. That's not mental strength. That could be codependency. Mental strength is being able to listen to feedback with openness, evaluate it with discernment, and implement what's useful. Let me repeat that. You listen openly, you evaluate critically, you implement strategically, and the more you do this, the more resilient you become. You're not asking people to validate you, you're asking, how can I get better? Doing this builds actual confidence. When you're receiving feedback, even if it hurts, say, thank you for sharing, let me sit with it. You don't have to agree, you don't have to defend, you don't have to make a decision right there. You just give yourself space. And then later, when you're alone, you can ask the real questions. What can I learn from that? What part of that is helpful? What do I want to keep doing? And what do I want to do differently? And if you want to go the extra mile, you can even ask for feedback before anyone gives it to you. You can go to a friend, a coworker, a partner and say, hey, I really want to keep improving. Is there anything I do that you think I might not be aware of? That takes courage, but it also shows emotional maturity. It shows that your ego isn't driving the car. Your commitment to growth is. And when people see that you're open to feedback, not just in theory, but in practice, they start to trust you more. They start to respect you more. They start to engage with you more honestly because they're not afraid of hurting your feelings every time they speak. They know that you'll listen, and that's a rare skill. It's one of the clearest signs of mental resiliency. The third sign of a mentally strong person is they lean into unpleasant feelings. You probably heard this phrase, you've got to sit with your feelings. It sounds great, but most people don't really know what that actually means. It becomes a catchphrase, not a skill. So let's actually define it. A feeling or an emotion is typically just one word. Sad, happy, mad, anxious, frustrated, guilty. What makes emotions tricky is that they don't just exist in your head, they show up in your body as well. That's why therapists often ask, where do you feel that in your body? It's not just a conversation starter. We're trying to help you understand how emotions operate physiologically for you. Because the more awareness you have over how emotions show up in your body, the more power you have to respond rather than react. Let's take anxiety for example. That might feel like a rapid heartbeat, a tight chest, muscle tension in your shoulders or jaw, a sinking sensation in your stomach. Sadness might feel totally different. Heavy limbs, a tight face, a subtle urge to withdraw. Happiness might feel like lightness, more energy, a relaxed or even more playful feeling in your body. Your shoulders drop, you breathe more freely. So when we say sit with your feelings, we don't mean think about them for 2 hours or drown in them. What we mean is pause, name the emotion, and notice how it shows up in your body without immediately having to react to it. Now, let's be honest, most of us are not very good at this. We like to avoid unpleasant feelings. And it makes sense. They're unpleasant, they're uncomfortable. Sometimes they are downright painful. But when we avoid emotions, we often avoid tasks or situations. You're not procrastinating the email, you're avoiding the anxiety of what the person might think. You're not avoiding the gym, you're avoiding the discomfort or the self-consciousness that happens with going to the gym. You're not avoiding that hard conversation, you're avoiding the awkwardness or the fear of being rejected. And when we avoid the emotion, you also avoid the growth. Mentally strong people do something different. They lean in. They let themselves feel the discomfort without escaping it, numbing it, minimizing it, or making it bigger than it is. They let the feeling exist, and then they take action based on their values, not their emotional impulses. Let's say you're preparing for a speech or presentation and you're really nervous. Every part of your body is screaming, no! You want to back out, cancel, make an excuse, but you pause. You recognize, this is fear, this is anxiety, and then you say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious and this matters to me. It's okay for me to do this while feeling anxious. You don't wait for the anxiety to go away, you go with it. That's what leaning in looks like. It's not waiting until you feel confident, it's choosing to act while still feeling the friction. The fourth sign someone is mentally strong is they talk to themselves usefully, not positively. A lot of people are told you just need to think more positive, and I get the intention behind that. It sounds good, but when you're exhausted, overwhelmed, grieving, anxious, or doubting yourself, positivity can feel like self-gaslighting. You say to yourself, I'm doing great, when you know deep down you're just struggling, and that just makes things worse. because now you're not just stressed, you also feel fake. It adds shame on top of whatever pain you're already going through. That's why mentally strong people don't aim to be positive all the time. They aim to think usefully. They talk to themselves in a way that actually helps. Sometimes that sounds like, I feel awful right now, I'm anxious, I'm tired, but I've gotten through days like this before and I can do it again. It's not blind optimism. It's not pretending everything is fine. It's a blend of some validation of how you feel mixed with motivation. Let's take a common example. Say it's the end of the day, you're exhausted, you plan to go to the gym, but every part of you wants to skip it. You're thinking things like, I'm too tired, what's the point? One day off won't hurt me. Those thoughts aren't wrong, necessarily. They're just not helpful. They're not aligned with your goals. They're keeping you stuck in a pattern. So instead, you can ask yourself, what's a more useful way to think right now? And that answer might be, okay, I really don't want to go, but I know I will feel better once I'm there. What you've done there is that you've made action possible. Useful self-talk also doesn't mean you're constantly hyping yourself up. Sometimes it's very matter of fact. You might even say, I don't feel confident, but I'm going to do the presentation anyway. That's useful. It aligns your behavior with your values, not your fears. And here's something important. Your brain gets used to the way you talk to yourself. The more you speak in a helpful, grounded language, the more automatic it becomes. You are literally conditioning your nervous system to handle stress differently. So instead of spiraling when something doesn't go according to plan, you have a different default. Instead of, this is terrible, I can't handle this, you get, this is hard, but I've done hard things before. It shows up everywhere. You're cooking dinner and you burn something. The automatic voice in your head says, oh, I always mess things up. I am so incompetent. However, that's not useful. That is shame speaking. A more useful voice says, okay, that didn't go how I wanted. I'm annoyed, but I can figure a backup plan. This doesn't define me. You don't have to be 100% motivated. You don't need to believe in yourself completely. You just need one thread of helpful thinking to pull you forward. And when you talk to yourself that way consistently, when you choose usefulness over unrealistic positivity, you start acting differently. Your behavior starts aligning with your values more often, and over time that builds resilience, that builds grit, that builds mental strength. The fifth thing mentally strong people do is they continuously put themselves outside of their comfort zone. But not in a wildly unrealistic just for the sake of being uncomfortable. It's about intentionality, stretching the edge of what they're capable of without pushing so far that they freeze or fall apart. This is where the idea of the window of growth comes in. Picture this with me. Imagine 3 circles. The first circle in the center is your comfort zone. This is everything you already know how to do. You don't have to think too much and there's very little emotional friction. Things feel smooth, easy, predictable. Now imagine a second circle right outside that one. This is your growth zone, also called your learning zone. This is where things are just difficult enough that you need to focus. You're a little bit uncomfortable, but not overwhelmed. You might not know exactly what you're doing, but with some trial and error and a little friction, you can figure it out. And then there's the third circle, way outside the first two. This is your panic zone. It's where things are so far beyond your current skill level or emotional tolerance that your brain just shuts down. It's not motivating, it's paralyzing. You're stressed, you're confused, and you're not learning anything because your nervous system is completely overloaded. Growth doesn't happen in the panic zone. Growth happens right outside the comfort zone. That's the sweet spot. And mentally strong people spend a lot of time in that second circle. They put themselves in situations where they'll feel a little awkward, a little stretched, a little uncertain, but not shattered. And they do this over and over and over again. That repetition, that exposure to small amounts of challenge is what actually changes your brain. Because what happens when you stay in that growth zone? Your comfort zone expands. That first thing you used to fear, it becomes normal. That conversation you used to avoid, it starts to feel doable. That skill you thought was out of reach, it becomes second nature. And the really cool part, your confidence grows after your competence improves. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and see you in the next one.